The world's on fire. Ukraine, the Middle East, the Indo-Pacific, and what's got Washington scrambling? Apparently, child care subsidies at the Pentagon. Senator Kennedy just torched Secretary Austin with the one question that cuts through the chaos. Are we serious about threats or just funding daycare? Buckle up.
Secretary Austin, is it not true that the world is on fire in Ukraine, the world is on fire in the Middle East, and that there are embers smoldering in the Indo-Pacific?
I would say that clearly there are challenges in both the places that you mentioned. And of course, in the Indo-Pacific, we see a China that's increasingly aggressive.
Do you disagree with my statement?
That the world is on fire? I would describe it a bit differently. I agree with your premise that it's as challenging as we've seen.
Is it not true? Sorry to cut you off, but we only have limited time. Is it not true that China, Russia, and Iran have worked between and among themselves to either start those fires, encourage those fires, or create those embers?
I would say that we see evidence of them growing closer together since the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I would not. I didn't see evidence of China collaborating with Russia to cause them to launch their invasion on its neighbor.
Is it not true that China, Russia, and Iran would like to see Russia dominate Central and Eastern Europe?
I think China would like to see the United States be unsuccessful. They would like to see Russia continue to challenge us and keep us, focused on that area, so that we'd have less time and energy and resources to focus.
Well, the situation I just described, I appreciate you parsing your words, but the situation I just described would not disappoint China, Russia, or Iran, would it?
I'm certain that it wouldn't.
Okay. Is it not true that China, Russia, and Iran would like to see Iran dominate the Middle East?
I certainly believe that Iran would like to see Iran dominate the Middle East.
Do you think that would break China's heart or Russia's heart to see Iran dominate the Middle East?
I don't think Russia or China would be unhappy about that, but
is it not true that China, Iran, and Russia would like to see China dominate the Indo-Pacific and be free to make moves in sub-Saharan Africa and South America? Is that not true?
I think that is certainly China's goal, to be the dominant player in the Indo-Pacific.
And that is not a world safe for democracy, is it?
It is not. It's one that would be controlled by autocrats eventually if they were to dominate the Indo-Pacific, and if Iran dominated activities in the Middle East.
And if we did not stop them, strike that. Do you believe that weakness invites the wolves?
I do. I think deterrence. In order to deter, you have to show strength.
And if we do not meet these challenges now, do you believe it will be more expensive in terms of American blood and treasure to meet them later?
I do, Senator.
All right, I've got one last question. Mr. Secretary, I'm looking at your and the President's proposed supplemental. What does $16 billion for child care, $6.5 billion for the Federal Communications Commission to extend high-speed internet, and $3.1 billion for the FCC to reimburse telecommunication companies to replace insecure equipment have to do with the world challenges we're facing right now? And why did you make this request?
I would defer to other colleagues on those specific aspects of the
Do you
budget
support
request.
those?
I support the supplemental budget request.
Okay. Last question. Mr. Secretary, I appreciate your candid answers, but why did the Department of Defense oppose my bill calling for a special inspector general in Ukraine so we could follow every penny of American taxpayer money, given the fact that the Inspector General of the Department of Defense has never been able to audit his own department?
The Inspector General of DOD has been involved in this effort from the very beginning.
Oh, I know. Believe me, he opposed my bill, and I find that ironic because the Department of Defense is the only federal agency that has never, in the history of ever, been audited. But your Inspector General insisted that he be in charge. Do you not see the irony there with respect to Ukraine?
Senator, I'm confident our Inspector General will do a great job in making sure that we remain on track with our responsibilities in Ukraine, and Europe.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Let's be real. Senator Kennedy didn't just critique the administration's foreign policy posture, he torched it, piece by disjointed bureaucratic piece. And watching Secretary Austin's performance, it was like watching a man trying to defuse a political landmine with a blindfold on and a thesaurus in hand. The world is on fire. Ukraine is bleeding, the Middle East is boiling, and China's flexing muscles in the Pacific like it's rehearsing for the sequel to World War II. But rather than confront that with decisive urgency, Austin responded with linguistic footwork. I'd describe it a bit differently. Really? That's the line when Russia, Iran, and China are practically passing around friendship bracelets at international summits? That's not reassurance. That's evasion masquerading as diplomacy. And Kennedy? He didn't let up. He laid out the global chessboard with the bluntness of a man who's done pretending. Russia grabbing at Europe's borders. Iran sinking its claws deeper into Middle Eastern chaos. China circling Taiwan like a shark smelling blood. And the connecting thread? All three emboldened by American inconsistency, all three hungry for distraction, division, and decay within the West. What's truly galling is that none of this is speculative. The war games, the military pacts, the arms shipments, it's all happening in broad daylight. Yet this administration's idea of deterrence slides some domestic spending into the defense supplemental like no one's watching, because clearly upgrading FCC broadband in rural America is the silver bullet that'll make Xi Jinping think twice. But Kennedy wasn't done, and the oversight question? That one hit like a sledgehammer. The Pentagon, the same institution that has never passed a full audit, wants the public to simply trust their bookkeeping on billions sent to Ukraine. No independent inspector general, no robust tracking, just, we've got this. If the Department of Defense were a Fortune 500 company with that track record, they'd be bankrupt and under investigation. Here's the hard truth. Deterrence isn't theater. It's not press releases or recycled budget gimmicks. It's transparency. It's readiness. It's calling authoritarian regimes what they are and meeting their aggression with more than wordplay and unfunded promises. Hamas isn't fighting for peace. They're fighting to wipe Israel off the map. Iran funds it. Hezbollah's locked and loaded. And America? Our leaders can't even say what the red line is. This isn't diplomacy. It's delusion. Stay silent now, and we'll pay in blood later. Let's unpack the danger.
From an Israeli point of view, there will be no ceasefire until Hamas ceases to be a threat to the state of Israel. Do you agree with that statement?
I do.
Okay, so no ceasefire until Hamas ceases to be a threat. Makes perfect sense to me. Do you believe it's the goal of Hamas to destroy Israel, not to have a two-state solution?
Don't have to take my word for it. Take Hamas's word for it. It's in
I
their charter.
couldn't agree with you. You agree with that, General Austin?
I do. They have said so.
All right, so we're fighting somebody who's not trying to help the Palestinians. They're trying to kill all the Jews. Would it be fair to say that Hamas is a modern-day version of religious Nazis?
I think there are different ways to qualify it. I would simply say that what
Well,
we've seen in recent,
is that a good
well, the most
characterization?
recent, I think the best recent analogy, Senator,
Yeah.
is ISIS.
Is that okay with you for me to call them religious Nazis?
I agree with Secretary Blinken.
Yeah.
There's a direct parallel to ISIS. As a matter of fact, I
Yeah,
think they're
okay,
two
yeah,
steps-
well, that's right. ISIS, Nazis is all bad. We all agree with that. Do you agree without Iran's help, Hamas could not do this?
In short, yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that Hamas wouldn't be Hamas.
As a matter of fact, General Austin, some estimates are that 93% of all the money Hamas receives comes from Iran. Is that correct?
I don't know the exact percentage, but I would say the vast majority does come from.
Well, all the reports I've seen from the administration is 90%. So Hamas is ISIS, Nazis, whatever you want to call them. They want to kill all the Jews. So if I were Jewish, I'd want to stop them. They're being supported by Iran. Our troops in Syria and Iraq, they're there to protect against the rise of ISIS. Is that true, General Austin?
That's right.
I mean, they're just not hanging out, no other place to go. They're there because it's in our national security interest that ISIS not come back. You agree with that?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Is it a red line for Iran to orchestrate an attack on our forces that kills an American in Syria or Iraq? Is that a red line? Can we tell the Iranians today, in case they're watching, if an American is killed by your proxies in Syria and Iraq, we're coming for you? Can you say that?
I think Iran should be held accountable for the activities of these Iranian.
Okay, does that mean that we would consider going to the source of the problem? The great Satan is Iran, not Israel. It's not the United States. Can we say publicly to the families who have service members over in Iraq and Syria that we will hit Iran if they try to kill an American through their proxies? Can we say that?
What we have said and what we'll continue to say, Senator, is that we're going to hold.
Well, I wish you would be more clear, because I'll tell you this. If one of these soldiers is killed, I'm going to say it, and I hope other people will join me. If there's a attack by Hezbollah in the north, General Austin, that would put the state of Israel at threat, would that be an escalation of the war?
It would be an escalation, and Israel would be forced to fight on two fronts.
And I agree with that. And they have over 100,000 precision-guided rockets and missiles pointed at Israel. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is it also correct that Iran is the biggest benefactor of Hezbollah?
That is absolutely correct.
Can we say to Iran, the Ayatollah, who is a religious Nazi, that if you escalate the second front, if you activate Hezbollah against the state of Israel to create a second front, we will come after you? Can we say that? Is that a red line?
Whether or not we attack Iran because of a decision on a part of Lebanese Hezbollah, that of course that's a presidential decision, and also will require congressional support.
I'm running out of time. I'm going to say it. If it happens, I hope it doesn't. Finally, do you agree with me, Secretary Blinken, that one of the main reasons this attack occurred is Iran wants to stop the reconciliation between Saudi Arabia and Israel?
Yes, those who are opposed to normalization are Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran.
I just want to end it with this. I will do everything I can as a Republican to help the Biden administration to achieve a reconciliation between Saudi Arabia and Israel with the understanding we're going to help the Palestinian people post-Hamas. That is the only way this ends. So I congratulate you. I urge you to continue to drive toward peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Do not let Iran win by getting us off track. And General Austin, I admire you very much, but we need to be clear, crystal clear, as to what happens if Iran kills an American soldier or they open up a second front. And I hope you will let them know what our red lines are. Thank you.
Senator Haggerty.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome both secretaries. Secretary Blinken, I'd like to start with you. I sent a letter last week to both yourself and to Administrator Powell asking for specific details on the funding that's gone into Gaza, the foreign assistance funding, U.S. taxpayer dollar foreign assistance funding that's gone into Gaza, the recipients and the sub-recipients of that funding. Are you in a position to give me complete answers today to that?
Thank you, Senator. Yes, we've got the letter. We're working on it. You asked important and very detailed questions. We need some time to make sure that we're giving you the most robust and accurate answers possible. So, in short, we will get that back to you.
At a high level, can you tell me the amount of funding overall under your watch that's gone into Gaza?
So, overall, we provided about $1 billion in assistance to the Palestinians through the UN Works and Relief Agency.
That's a significant amount of money. I look forward to going through the detailed response you provided. I appreciate that commitment to do so in a timely fashion. I'd like to tell you why I am asking this. I want to make certain that you can guarantee that not one dime of U.S. taxpayer funding is going to, the funding that's going to Gaza is going to benefit Hamas and their terrorist activities. Yeah. Has that happened? And I think the question I'd like to ask is, can you guarantee us that no taxpayer money, no U.S. taxpayer money went to fund the attack that Hamas delivered in Israel on October the 7th?
So we have, and we've had from day one, and we'll obviously get back to you in response to this letter, a robust monitoring, inspection, verification system for the assistance that goes to any international organization, and including.
Can you guarantee, though, that U.S. taxpayer dollars didn't go to Hamas to help fund this attack on October the 7th?
So everything that we're doing in terms of making sure that the assistance is used for purposes for which it's designated, not for other purposes. As I said, we have a robust system in place.
Can I share my concern, Mr. Secretary, to be more specific about this? In May of 2021, I traveled to Israel after the 11-day war. I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu with his national security advisor. They briefed me and my team on the fact that every humanitarian aid dollar, every foreign aid dollar that goes into Gaza is controlled by Hamas. They either direct it, they tax it, or they divert it. They even take pipes intended for the water system for civilians and turn those into rockets that are aimed at Israel. We've seen Hamas's own videos demonstrating this. So I'm going to come back and ask you, can you guarantee that U.S. taxpayer dollars weren't used in October 7th attack?
What I can guarantee is that we take every possible precaution to ensure that these resources are not diverted. Second,
let me come at it another way then, Mr. Secretary, because your own State Department has made an internal assessment on this. Madam Chair, I'd like to submit for the record a set of internal State Department emails from 2021 that were obtained via FOIA. And
No
Secretary
objection.
Blinken, I'd like to specifically read from part of that. The assessment of your own State Department in 2021 is that, quote, due to Hamas's overall strength and level of control over Gaza, there is a high risk that Hamas could potentially derive indirect, unintentional benefit from U.S. assistance to Gaza. Secretary Blinken, do you agree with this assessment?
I do. And here's the challenge that we face, Senator. We have in Gaza somewhere over 2 million people, the overwhelming majority of which, virtually everyone, not a member of Hamas, and indeed increasingly
I
disgusted.
understand. I'm talking about Hamas's control over the funds, not the citizenship there. And with respect to their control of the funds, can you guarantee that the U.S. isn't funding both sides of this war, Mr. Secretary?
It is important that the one agency that has the ability to operate either directly or through agencies that it works with, and that we have robust controls in place to ensure that the money.
Let me come back to this because I need to reclaim my time. I'm losing it. Israel has said that Hamas is diverting foreign aid. Hamas has even demonstrated that with their own videos. Your own department has warned about the high risk. And I've yet to see, but I hope to, that where the actual funds flow is coming to Hamas from our government to Gaza.
We
But I'm
also-
deeply concerned here, and we need to be convinced that we're not funding both sides of this war, that U.S. taxpayers aren't put in a position of funding a vicious cycle. And I think this department, I think your department needs to confirm that with this committee. We need that level of detail so that as we appropriate a massive request for funding, we can assess the risk ourselves.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Senator Graham didn't just call out Iran's role in this conflict. He ripped the curtain down and exposed the machinery driving the chaos. Hamas isn't some misunderstood political movement. They're not resistance fighters. They're religious fascists with a charter soaked in genocidal intent, and Tehran's the one footing the bill. The most staggering part? Secretary Austin admits it, casually. 90% of Hamas's funding traced back to Iran, and yet, when the moment came to name the source of the cancer, the administration's response was less moral clarity, more bureaucratic fog. It's like admitting you know who the arsonist is, but refusing to say his name because you're worried he might get offended. And let's talk about those Iranian fingerprints. It's not just Hamas, it's Hezbollah, stockpiling over 100,000 missiles aimed straight at Israel. It's the Houthi rebels stirring the pot from Yemen. It's militias in Iraq and Syria lurking in the shadows, ready to strike American troops. This isn't random instability. It's a coordinated, well-funded, Iranian-orchestrated assault on regional peace. So when Graham asks, what's the red line? It's not rhetorical. It's the question every American deserves an answer to. Because when the rockets start flying and American service members are in harm's way, that's a presidential decision, isn't a policy. It's a punt. It's the foreign policy equivalent of setting your house on fire and promising to review the situation after the flames hit the living room. Even Blinken, to his credit, slipped out the inconvenient truth. Iran isn't lighting these matches for fun. They're sabotaging normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia because peace dilutes Iran's grip. Stability threatens their empire of proxies and terror. And their response? Violence. Plain, predictable, and, thanks to our diplomatic hemming and hawing, largely unpunished. Here's the bottom line. You can't neuter religious extremists with UN resolutions and carefully worded press briefings. You confront them with strength, clarity, and consequences. Graham made that clear. This isn't about partisan games. It's about whether we have the spine to call Iran what it is, a state sponsor of modern religious Nazism, and whether we'll finally act like we mean it. Let's not dance around it. The enemies of democracy love a weak signal, and right now, some of our leaders are sending smoke signals when they should be drawing lines in concrete. Iran funds the chaos. Its proxies test our patience, and every moment of hesitation, that's their green light. But not here. At Malcolm Varon Talks, we don't do vague. We call it. We crush the spin, and we remind those in power. Softness gets exploited. Strength gets respected. So, hit like, drop your take below. Should the U.S. finally stop flirting with red lines and make them real? And make sure to subscribe, because when the world gets messier, this is where the sharp edges of the truth live. We'll be here, bold, loud, and exposing the games they hope you'll never notice. Stick around. It's only heating up.